Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Welcome back to the show. Leigh Lincoln joining us today. Yes, she's an author, and we're going to dive in deep today why, she loves writing and loves what she does. LeighLincolnAuthor.com. Welcome back to the show today. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great. A lot of new time listeners out there. So let's talk a little bit about you, what you do, who you are, what you've written, and then we'll get into specifics and break it all down to like the top 10 things that you love about being an author.
Right. So, yes, I'm an author. I have written 4 inspirational novels. They are connected by theme. The theme is every life is a broken road. And so every character has a different problem that they finally are facing. And then they share their story and try to figure out where they went wrong, where they need to go next and fix their problem, and then how they need to move forward. And so every character is on a physical, spiritual, and emotional journey.
Beautiful. And a little bit about, your life, just a little background of why you became an author and some of the works you've done, and then we'll go into more detail.
Well, I did homeless and poverty advocacy for something like 30 years. I was really involved in helping homeless people, helping people get into their first time home, helping homeless people try to figure out how to move forward and get out of that situation. Worked a lot with single mothers, partially because I was a single mother, and trying to help people not fall into poverty in the first place. So that was kind of my world for a long time. And I wrote my first book, Brought Home, quite by accident. A lot of times my voice didn't matter because, well, I was just a woman. I was just a mom. I was just a volunteer. I was just a whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started journaling one day and accidentally wrote a book. And I went from being ignored to being an expert virtually overnight, just because of the power of the written word. So.
Aww.
Which brings me to why I love being an author.
Yep. All right. Good. Go for it. Go for it.
So one of the first things is I get to express creativity. I've always been a very creative person. I love to write and well, clearly I love to write, but it was always just I love to draw and I love to paint. And I grew up in a household where art and music was really appreciated. My mother played the piano, and so this is my own way of really bringing out my own creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And I write in a way that a lot of other authors probably don't, because I don't plot at all. I don't have any idea where my stories are going. They're totally creative. I just throw words on a page and I hope for the best. And it's just so fun for me to see how my stories come to life. And but that's part of the beauty of my stories, is they're really raw and emotional. And some people really appreciate it. And then
Yeah.
other people are like, well, it seems like she's just throwing words on a page. Well, yep, because it's what I do.
More than that. Come on. Come on.
So yes, I do have an editor, but yeah, but yeah, my words are really free form, and they're just from my heart. And that's one of the biggest things I love about being an author is I share what I want to share. And I will talk about more of that later, because that is a major point later in these 10 things that I love about being an author. So yeah, that's my number one thing, is being able to be extremely creative. The second thing is I get to be very flexible. This is a job that you can do literally from anywhere. I often joke about, I have laptop, will travel, because you're not tied to a desk. I don't have a boss. I
Mm-hmm.
am my own boss. I do everything for this business, because I'm creating my own little universe. I do everything. And so, yeah. So today I could be in Georgia. Tomorrow I could be in Texas. 2 weeks from now I could be in Spain. It doesn't matter. As long as I have access to quasi decent internet, I can literally work from anywhere. And I've done it because I literally did a podcast one time from the side of the road at a rest area. So, yep, this is a job that it doesn't matter where I am, I can still work.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that. And not too many jobs you have that kind of freedom. And so I love that. The flexibility of just I can just be anywhere. I can do anything I want. It's awesome. It is so freeing. And not too many people can say that about their jobs. So,
Yeah. Okay. Wow. That's
and
a lot.
yeah, and that goes into number 3, being independent, which also ties into number 1 too. It ties into number 1 and number 2 is I write the stories I want to write. I go where I want to go. I have my own schedule. I do anything I want, basically within reason, of course. Because I do listen to what my readers have to say. When they say, really add some humor, lighten it up. I did a little bit, but when it ultimately comes down to it, though, um, I am responsible for everything I do in my business.
Yeah.
And it's my heart, my passion that drives my business. And so my stories are ultimately me.
Yeah.
And I am my brand. And it's different than a lot of other businesses because, I'm selling basically myself in a way
Yeah.
what I put on my pages. So that I'm very independent and I like that. And I really like that about being an author. It's very different than a lot of other things you could do for a job. And that ties into number 4 because again, I do listen to my readers, building connections. I have the power to touch the lives of my readers
Uh-huh.
because I get really involved in their lives, sometimes probably more than I should, because I'm out there all the time going to events and talking to them one-on-one and hearing their stories, hearing where they're at, hearing what's going on in their lives. And then I get these emails from them where they're just pouring their hearts out to me. And that's awesome. And I've never really had an experience like that other than working with the homeless because, well, yeah, they'll tell me anything because they're trying to get out of their situation. So this is another job where I really get to build connections like that. And part of it is because I am involved in every aspect of my business. The only thing I don't do is the editing. I have a professional editor, but everything else I do myself. I put the words on the page. I do all my own marketing. I go out there and I sell them myself. It's all me. Everything about this business is me. And so that I absolutely love is it's a lot of time, it's a lot of effort, but it's me. It's 100% me. And so yeah, when a reader tells me that I've touched their heart, that means I've done my job well. So, and I love that. Um
Full.
yeah. And so the 5th thing I love about my job and being an author is I get to explore new places because I wander around the world and not just to do events like I just mentioned to sell my books, but I also do research for my books. I've
Mm-hmm.
been literally everywhere. I have been to Spain. I have been to Italy. And there when I go there, I don't go there just to travel because I love to travel, but I go there so that I can enrich and
Mm-hmm.
make my stories deeper and really have that as part of my stories. And in May, I went to Fort Sam Houston and San Antonio, Texas, so that I could really see where they train the medics for the Army. So I do all my own research and I don't just rely on a book. And I go to these places myself and I see what it's like and I talk to the people who are involved and I really believe this helps my writing to be so much better and so much deeper. And I was talking to somebody about this the other day because they were like, I do research for my books, but I would never travel for it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, let me give you an example of why I do this. I read a book a couple weeks ago. Well, okay, I didn't read the whole book. I started to read a book.
Okay.
And at the beginning of this book, I wasn't too far into it. They were talking about Tallahassee, Florida. And there was two problems with this. One, they mentioned a beach in Tallahassee, Florida. And two, they said it was in the panhandle of Florida. Okay, there are no beaches in Tallahassee, Florida. There's beach. It's like 30, 35,
Yeah.
40 minutes away. There's no beaches in Tallahassee.
Oh.
And number two, Tallahassee is not in the panhandle of Florida. It's in the Big Bend. Okay, do your research. And that is a simple Google research at that. You have to go to Florida to know that that was wrong. So, so I was talking with this other author, and I was like, yeah, this is why A, research is critical, and B, you probably should be doing your own. Because where did this author go wrong? I don't know, but somebody really fell down here.
Wow. Wow.
So when you read my books, you can be assured that there is going to be no crazy little mistakes like that, because no, I've gone to these beautiful towns in Spain like Terror, and I've seen it for myself. I've wandered down the streets of Rome. I've wandered down the streets of Madrid. I've been there. I've done this. I'm not going to be saying something wonky and just be way, way wrong, because I get to explore all these beautiful places. And so, yeah, that's what I love about my job is just, yeah, I don't take anything for granted, and I do this all myself. And this goes into number 6. I get to learn so many new things, because if I don't know something, I'm not going to assume I'm just guessing it right. I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to learn about it. Like what I was talking about, the medic program at Fort Sam Houston. I don't know anything about, well, I know a little about the Army. I've watched the show MASH, right? Everybody's watched the show
I
MASH.
remember MASH.
Yeah, so I know a little bit about Army medics, but by going to Fort Sam Houston and diving through their archives, you wouldn't believe some of the things I learned. And it was fascinating. Not all of it can I use in my next book, but that's beside the point. You're never too old to learn something new. And learning should be a lifelong thing for everybody. But for me as an author, it's important because, again, these little details kind of make or break you sometimes. So, I want to make sure I get things right. And not only the little details, but I'm also trying to make my writing a little bit better. Because again, I freely admit, I wrote my first book accidentally. So I am trying to get a little bit better with the art of writing. Now, not to the point where I'm willing to go back to college and get that creative fine arts degree that everybody keeps screaming at me that I need to get. I'm not that dedicated, but I have taken some online classes about writing. I have taken some online classes about marketing. So yes, so it's not just the little details of my book that I take the time to learn, but I am trying to learn some business stuff too. Because I'm kind of, old and not that good at a lot of things. But that's the key to life, though. Admit when you don't know something, and instead of saying, hey, no, I'm not going to do that because I don't know it, you say, yeah, nope, I don't know it, but I bet somebody else does, and they could point me in the right direction of how to figure out how to do this. So that's one of the things I love about my job is I get to learn new things. So, yep. So number 7, I am finding a huge sense of fulfillment. I love seeing how my writing has evolved over time. It's actually kind of amazing if you look at book 1 versus book 4, which, okay, to be fair, again, I'm trying to write on purpose now. So hopefully they are better just by that simple act. But it is kind of amazing to me how much I've grown as an author, and that gives me a huge sense of fulfillment that I am improving, that I am getting better over time. And yeah, I probably will always hand a hot mess to my poor editor. She's probably always going to have to clean this mess up. I understand that. I'm perfect, who is? But that's okay. Um, but I've learned so many things over the years, and it's just it really is fulfilling to know that even at my age of 50 something, you can learn something and you can grow. And that is awesome that you're never too old to grow, even a little bit. So I find a lot of fulfillment in that. And number 8 is finding community. I love the fact that I've found a new community in other authors. I've gotten to network with authors in person, pre-pandemic, online during the pandemic, and now back in person post-pandemic. Um, because a rising tide lifts all boats. So, it's great getting to know all these other authors, to hear their journeys, to hear what they do, what they like, what they don't like. I really have gotten to know a lot of other authors and really enjoy bouncing ideas off of them and hearing what their process is. And yeah, their process is way different than mine. Most of them have that fine arts degree that I never got, but that's okay. And it's just been fun hearing what they do and how they do it. Number 9 is making a difference. Because, of course, my whole entire life, I've been wanting to give back and help others. And now I have this huge platform to do that with. So before I was helping charities on a little tiny level, and now I'm helping charities on this really, really big level. And I love that because I'm inspiring others to help charities just like me. And that is really, really awesome and cool. So I love that is one of the big things I love is getting to inspire others to support the charities that are near and dear to my heart. And number 10 is I'm creating a legacy. Who knew little old me would create a legacy? But yeah, I am. My personal story has inspired others, mostly women, to find their passion, to figure out what they're good at, that they can have a voice, that they can change the world, that they can be a somebody and not just a nobody, that they can get out of the little box that society tells them they have to be in and go change the world. And that has just been really, really cool for me too, is to know that I can change things, not just for me, but for others. And when I walked into this, I never thought I would sell more than 10 books. And not only am I selling books, but I'm helping others to change their lives as well. So those are the 10 things I love about being an author.
Wow. Is there 11? It's got to
No,
be
but
more, though.
I probably could go on.
I'm sure she's like, I can go on and on. Aw.
But I decided to stop at 10.
Amazing. That is great. And by the way, if you're just tuning in, remind us how we can reach you.
I can be reached at LeighLincolnAuthor.com. That's LEIGH, LincolnAuthor.com. Or you can go to my Facebook page, which is also Leigh Lincoln Author. Or you can email me, LeighLincolnAuthor@gmail.com. Super easy to find.
Yay. And in closing today, what else do you want to leave us with? You still got 3 minutes left.
Oh, wow. Because I timed that, so I must have spoken too fast. So, well, again, my stories are inspirational novels. The first one, Road Home, is about a homeless hitchhiker who shares her story and discovers that home just isn't what she thought it was. My second book, Road to Freedom, is about a man who's dying of cancer. He shares his story and then he decides he needs to fix the unfixable and right all his wrongs before he dies. My third one, Finding the Real Road, is about a woman who has a really, really bad marriage. She finally divorces the guy, and as she's rebuilding her life, she shares her story and then decides she just was doing all the wrong things for all the wrong reasons her entire life. And my newest one, The Road West, is about an elderly woman who had a moment of indiscretion in her youth where she almost had an affair. And now the repercussions of that have come back to haunt her, and she discovers, well, she affected a whole lot of people and had no idea. So they're all independent stories because, again, they're connected by theme, not by character. So you can read them in any order, because every life is a broken road. And so every character has a different problem that they're trying to face and fix.
And it's
And-
like, oh, go ahead.
And my new one that will be coming out in November on National Adoption Day will be the start of a new series. And it will be from the birth father's perspective. And it will show his story from the moment he got his girlfriend pregnant to the moment when his now adult daughter reaches out to him wanting to connect.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'm all about that. The personal journey, the personal story, the emotion, the heart. So.
And what about God Bless the Broken Road? Rascal Flatts song. Do you know that song?
That is kind of where I got the idea.
Is that your theme song? I love it. Oh, amazing. It's one of my favorites. Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, because well, number one, it's been a long time favorite of mine. And so when I was trying to think of a good tagline for the whole series, I was like, oh, I love that. And so that's part of the reason why I called them the Broken Roads. So, and that's why they all have a road in them, because again, every life is a broken road, and every journey is not perfect, and it doesn't have to be, but we all do need to try to make our lives just a tiny little bit better, hopefully. And so, yeah. At each one of these, they're on a physical, spiritual, emotional journey, and they're all just trying to figure out where they went wrong, where they need to go next, and hopefully make their lives just a tiny bit better.
And in closing today, darling, how can we reach you? Leigh Lincoln, author. And what's the next work you're working on?
And the next one I'm working on doesn't have a title yet, but and I haven't titled the series yet. We're still in the middle of editing it, but it will be a series on adoption, and the first book will be from the birth father's perspective, and it will be coming out on National Adoption Day in November.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here again, and looking forward to the next time we get to connect. Leigh Lincoln, author. Have a fantastic day. Thank you for sharing all of that with us. Your journey as an author, which continues, and your travels continue. Where are you right now?
I'm in Georgia right now.
Okay. Where next week?
I'm not sure.
I love it. All right. Enjoy, sweetheart. Thank you so much for being here. To all of our listeners, stay tuned. More of the show is on the way. Thank you again.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.